Hello, good everyone. Good night, everyone. This is Monday Night Chat with SK coming to you live from Las Vegas. I'm here with an amazing guest who is going to share with us some amazing things about the recovery work he is doing in New York State. We have Lynn Statham here with us tonight. Thank you, Lynn Statham, for joining Monday Night Chat. The chat community is about, learning and growing and really expanding our thoughts around different things. We love to bring experts and individuals onto the podcast to share, their ideas and what they got going on. To help us learn a little bit more about ourselves and the world around us. And I was really excited about, the work you're doing with your book, The Greatest Moments, and, being grateful in a world of chaos. You can expand on it a little bit more for us tonight, but I would like for you to introduce yourself, tell the audience, tell the chat community who you are and what you got going on, and then we can talk a little bit about your book and some of the other things you got going on.
Well, Shimona, this is great. I chased you down to get on this podcast, so I'm happy I'm here. And so I've got a lot going on. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Alliance for Rights and Recovery, which is this national, many people probably in the podcast community know the Alliance for Rights and Recovery. We're a peer-run organization. We do work all across the country, but I wanted to do something outside of that. And so I wrote a book based on some things that I was doing in my own personal life. It's called 5 Greatest Moments. It's really based on a very simple idea that you look for your greatest moments each day. They don't have to be the highlight of your day. Mm-hmm. They actually might be very small things that you notice, but you put enough moments together and you build a story for your life. And I just think that we all need to restory our life because we all live with these narratives that we have inherited, whether through trauma, whether it's through our family. And so this book is really helping to have people change the narratives that they live by.
What are some of the ways in which this framework has supported you? Like, as you were writing the book, like, what were some things that, that you start to discover about yourself that you eventually hope that others would?
Yeah, in writing this book, I had been doing, it's literally me writing down the 5 greatest moments of my day every day. And, if you do that long enough and you follow sort of the framework, which is, the first thing you do is identify the moments of that day. You're more like curating your day rather than just reacting to your day. Mm-hmm. And then you just start to kind of explore a little bit what each moment means to you. You kind of journal, you find meaning in it. But then, if you begin to look at your greatest moments over the week, over the course of a month, or even over a course of a year, you begin to learn what kind of person you are. And so one of the things that I discovered is I was worrying constantly. I tried mindfulness, which I know a lot of people love mindfulness, and I think it's great. But for someone like me who worries constantly, mindfulness is this idea that when you are in a stressful situation and your anxiety is going high, then you kind of just sit and kind of watch the experience in your mind's eye. Yeah. But when I did that, actually, I was perseverating on negative things that happened throughout my day. So I'm like, this isn't working for me. And I wanted to kind of couple that with just being grateful. And so that's where sort of the synergy has come from with the 5 greatest moments, because you're looking for good things.
Mm-hmm. So would you say something negative happened or something bad happens for the day? Doing this work, would you be like, you know what? Okay, I didn't get the job, but, at least they gave me an interview and I was able to, have an opportunity to think about what skills or experiences I needed. Or one of the things I did was I had recently got terminated from a job. And doing something similar like that, at first I was so upset about losing said job. But then I said, you know what? That job was moved out of my way. to be able to do something that I really want to do. Because sometimes you get complacent in a position or at a job. It's paying your bills, it's doing what it needs to do, but it's not quite what you need, and so you stay because it's taking care of the basic needs. But instead of looking at like a job just being gone, you say, you know what, this gives me an opportunity to pursue something greater, or maybe that wasn't a good fit for me. And I think, when I think about how you're talking about, and that may be like a bigger thing, because it can be smaller things like, you know what, I woke up this morning, I'm worried about everything being perfect, but I woke up this morning. So in that sense, like, what ways can people, other than writing things down, because I know I'm difficult with writing things down, what other ways can folks use that perspective throughout their day using that gratitude mindset?
So I love the way that you were able to sort of reframe that job situation, because one of the things that I've learned is that you could have two people experience the very same event. One person will walk away with a totally different life experience, even though they're very, very similar. And I think it's because that, like, for example, like somebody could have a very like a sense of loss over something, and they could walk away with the feeling that life sucks
Mm-hmm.
and life is unfair. But another person would walk away from that with life is so precious. And so there's always different ways to reframe your day, an event. And the power is not in the event itself. It's in the story you tell yourself about the event. That's where the
Yep.
meaning is. That's where the actual control is. You don't have control over the actual events, but you do have control over the way you reframe. And I'm constantly doing that throughout the day.
Yeah. And I'm
And I'm
also
also
worried.
being grateful for things.
Yeah, I'm also a worrier. And even still today, even with, some of the things I get concerned about is that, how, okay, when people have a belief, right? So I'm learning in my communications class is that you have a presenting self and then you have your self, right? Your presenting self is what you allow the world to see about you. And sometimes I feel like an imposter because sometimes I feel like my presenting self doesn't align with who myself that day. For instance, if
Yeah.
like if I don't have I don't have money, or if I'm struggling financially, or if I'm having a bad day and I'm struggling with a relationship, whether it be family or friend or whatever, and I'm not using my emotional intelligence, I'm upset, I'm arguing, whatever. My presenting self as a coach teaches people how to manage relationships, how to have courageous conversations. So I feel like an imposter when I'm not aligned with that presenting self, like, oh, you practice what you preach. But I learned to say to myself, I'm still human. And every interaction I have with someone, I'm still teaching myself. I'm still learning. Like, so I'm using who I am as a coach to coach myself, And so, a lot of times it's important to remind yourself that even knowing something, it can be difficult to apply, So, yeah.
I was just going to say, the imposter syndrome is something I think, and I was just reading about this actually, that a lot of entrepreneurs, that whether they're in coaching, whether they're doing maybe something on the physical fitness side of a person's life, if they're interacting with someone, there is a sense of imposter syndrome, but that actually can be a good thing because it spurs you to do even better in your own personal life. But the thing is that you only need to know 10% more than the person you're coaching.
Right.
So it's not like you have to be this perfect person in order to and be complete. And I think that's where people they get down on themselves and then they actually stop what they're doing because they feel like they're not worthy of it. And like I said, you don't have to be perfect.
Right.
You don't have to be perfect.
And I
You
struggle
just have to be a little bit better than the person that needs the help.
Yep. And it's like, one of the things like, and I don't know, I don't think you're on my Facebook. So on my Facebook in November, so I'm a part of this community called Momentum Education. And every November we do 30 days of gratefulness, of gratitude, right? So every day you post on your Facebook or in your journal about something you're grateful for. And I remember doing it last year. And I was working still with said organization, and I was not feeling, very happy about my circumstances. But during that 30 days, I was able to really find some amazing things that I could be
Mm,
grateful for. But I'll also say that 15
yeah.
days in, I felt like I was running out of things to be grateful for because I was looking
Yeah.
at,
You were
like,
seeing the same things over and over.
it was like I was looking for maximized gratitude stuff, like, oh, I'm so grateful for my family. I'm so grateful for my home. But there was little
Yeah.
things. I'm
Yeah.
grateful for, you know, discernment. I'm grateful for the ability to feel, for forgiveness or whatever. I was not looking at the emotional gratitude I could have for myself. And so like
Yeah.
the first 15 was like my career and my resume. But you can get a little bit more, you can look a little bit deeper, or maybe not so deep. You can look, oh wow, look, I'm grateful my plant is growing today, or look at that
Yeah.
little leaf that's sprouting from
That's
my
what it's all about. It's about noticing. It's
yeah.
about noticing. And that's the five greatest moments is you're just noticing these moments. I have given example in the book of like I'm on an airplane and
Mhm.
I had a rough day and I noticed this father and his daughter in the row ahead of me, and the joy in this little girl's face when she's they're kind of just talking with each other, and joy in the father's face. I'm like, oh my God, that's one of my greatest moments today because it instantly
Mhm.
connected me to a time when my daughter was younger, and the bond that we still have today, but it just took me back to like when she was 5 and just made me light up inside. And that's such a simple thing, but
Right.
it's a great moment. So you got to capture those moments each day. And they don't, trust me, these moments don't all have to be happy, happy, joy, joy. I
Right.
mean, I've got some, like one of my greatest moments in my life is probably one of the most challenging times that I've ever gone through. It's when my
Mhm.
mom had passed away. And
Mhm.
I tell somebody, off the cuff, one of my greatest moments was when my mom died. No, it's not as simple as that. But so what happened was that my mom was had Alzheimer's, and
Mhm.
she was not recognizing anybody anymore. And
Right.
we were just about ready to move her in hospice, and I went into her hospital room, and thank God we were able to actually get into the hospital because this is during COVID. And they
Mhm.
just graciously let us go because we hadn't seen her for months because we weren't allowed in. And I went to see her, and I could see how afraid she was because she was always scared of dying.
Right, right.
And I approached her, and she, by this time she was not verbal, and I just took her hand, and she squeezed it, and she
Oh.
looked me right in the eye, and she said, "Leonard, I love you so much." And I
Oh.
couldn't believe that she had even talked, that she
Mhm.
even recognized me. But I got to tell you, in that moment, I have never in my life felt more love. It just poured through me. It was supernatural.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking at the time, there's so much love right now in this moment that it dwarfs all the hate in the world. Every
Mhm.
single piece of hate that's in this world, and there's a lot of it, that
Yep.
this love was even bigger than all of it. And that was
Mhm.
a great one. Probably will be one of the greatest moments of my life.
And that's beautiful. And that's beautiful. And a lot of people, like, even speaking to that, like losing my mom was difficult too. I was actually pregnant
Yeah.
with my daughter. So
Oh man.
it was it was very, it was a lot of different emotions happening. I remember,
Yeah.
losing my mom was tough. It was tough. And I didn't get a chance to like see her last day because I lived in a whole nother state from her. But when my
Mm.
daughter was born, like that, actually the day my mom passed away, my daughter started moving. So, Before
Wow.
that, she was still really, I was like 4 or 5 months. So I guess I hadn't gotten to the stage where the baby is moving around. And the morning
Mhm.
my mom passed away, my daughter started to move in my stomach. And it was both comforting and weird at the same time because I'm like, baby, I don't got time
Yeah.
for this right now. I need you to chill out. Right. But I think the energy I felt in my body, my baby was trying to comfort me. And so when
Yeah.
you said that, it's like
Wow.
in those moments, those tough moments, when you're not present, like you stated in
Yeah.
your work, being present, when you're not present, you miss out on those pieces, those nuances of joy, of an experience that you can have during a difficult time. So I would like you almost had me tearing up because I'm like, all right, I have
Well, I
some.
usually do.
Hmm.
I usually can't get through the story, honestly, because it still just touches me at such a deep emotional level.
Yeah. How old was your mom when
Yeah.
she passed?
She was 83, so she had
Beautiful.
lived a good life. But the
Yeah.
last, 5 years were rough.
Hmm.
She did Alzheimer's just, they took away everything. They
Yeah.
took away everything.
And
And
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, she knew it was going to do that.
She knew
We forgot
that
that it's,
that it was
of
going to take her
course, that's the
memories
way it
and.
ends. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's the way it ends. It robs you
Yeah.
of your sense of self, your sense of being.
I saw I think it was this sitcom, I was not sitcom, but like a show I was watching. It was like, it's called Family
Mhm.
Law, and it was like a family of lawyers. And there was this woman
Okay.
there that came, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's or either dementia. And she had requested to end her life. And she was like putting like all the legal documents to like, because she didn't want to wait until it started robbing
Yeah,
her. And her
I
son
don't
was
blame
so
her.
upset. He was like, "No, don't do it," because he was thinking about the emotion of losing his mom. Like they both were
Yeah,
right. And eventually the son
yeah,
came around and he let her do it, but it became too late because her mind started to, because with the paperwork, the way it works is you have to be in your right mind to sign the documents. Like you can't already be
oh,
deteriorating. So the mom,
so too much time had
yeah, so
passed.
when the son stopped
Oh,
it,
wow.
like when the mom went to do they do like a test or something. When she went, actually
Wow.
she didn't pass, and so they took it away from her. But she did it
That
anyway.
stinks.
She did it anyway. I don't know
Oh,
what
she did.
came out of
Okay.
it, but she did it anyway.
Okay.
And he came around and he
Wow.
was with her when she did it. It was really interesting to see
Mm.
because I'd never heard about that being a thing until I saw that. But yeah, so finding
Mm.
gratitude in tough moments is like that's high level, Len. Like, so you're a high level
I know.
gratitude
Trust me,
person.
it was a gift from God because I couldn't do that by myself. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it's
You know,
tough.
it was
It's tough because
something
people expect you to
something
be
very
so
spiritual
sad.
about it.
Yeah. People expect you to be so sad during those times. And
Mhm.
seeing that you were able to find, and that's a beautiful story. Like I hope you tell this story a lot. That's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
what
it
are
lives with
some,
me.
yeah. So what are some other things that, like when reading this book, people can kind of like learn? Because gratitude, I think people want to live that way. They want to be able to find gratitude. But to be honest, the world hasn't really given us a lot of um teachings on how to do that. Like the world, I feel like the world has taught us how to complain. Like everybody knows how to do that. But
Yeah.
finding
It comes
gratitude,
naturally.
yeah. Like when you're thinking
Yeah.
about the world going into, I mean, the world, the country going to a recession, or when
Yeah.
rent's going up, people are getting homeless, people are losing jobs. People don't want to smile. So what are some
Yeah.
things that in your book people can learn and like, you know, I know you talked about the writing down and stuff like that, but what are some of like the things like you like, if you read this part of it, it will really get you that space to really think through this.
So one of the things I've been told by several different people is first of all, there's many different ways to read the book. Like some
Hmm.
people read right through it, and it's,
Hmm.
it's a pretty easy read. It's like 114 pages. It's not long. Um, And so they read right through it, and then they start doing the 5 greatest moments. But then some people just like read a couple chapters, and then they actually start doing the work immediately. And I hate using that term, like doing the work, because it's
Mhm.
really simple. It doesn't take a lot of your time. But one of the things that people have told me is that it's one of the things that has helped them immediately is begin to notice more things on the micro level, like
Mhm.
even waking up in the morning, and maybe
Mhm.
they've set their coffee maker, and um, they smell that coffee. It's helping people build awareness for good things, because
Mhm.
Lord knows we are bombarded through social media, through news. We are bombarded daily with negative things that are happening in the world. It's just the world we
Mhm.
live in. We're in some ways we're more connected than others, but I think sometimes people confuse like access with connection, because I don't think we're
Right.
connected. We just have
Mhm.
access to a lot of information, and a lot of it just tends to be so negative. And this is a way to balance it out. So I think the book presents the concept and the idea that, you know, sometimes you need to block out some of that negative emotion and negative things that are happening all around you, because it drowns out all the good things that are happening, even the small things. And
Yeah.
it's the small things that matter most, because those are the things that you build your life from, not like
Mhm.
these grandiose things that you maybe want to do. Frankly, I love that kind of stuff, but
Mhm.
it's the small things that will add up to that.
Yeah, it's like a building block. I remember, I think at the NIAPRS
Yeah.
conference, I talked about that during the interrupting oppression. We had some people like were looking at oppression from, looking at racial divide and stuff like that. I said, interrupting oppression is we got to look at it at a micro level. If we look at our interactions with each other, your next door neighbor, the person you live with, interrupting oppression happens there first. Because when
Yes.
you look at
Yeah.
it at, the policies, then you're missing the mark. The little conversations you have with your friends and the people you have direct contact with influence those bigger issues. So if
Yeah.
you're
It's
not
a
managing
great
it
way to
on
put it.
your day to day or interrupting it on your day to day, the impact on the macro level it's just going to be because some people are unwilling to correct their brother-in-law or their sister or their cousin when it comes to
Mhm.
how they speak to people or how they view certain things, but want to be at the rallies fighting policy. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, do the work on the ground because that will then influence the changes. I said a lot of the different policies that are either, what you call it, oppressive to the masses started from one
Yeah.
conversation. One person's belief that they then, influence, encourage others. So I get that, like, people are, I think it's that instant gratification that we look for. Like, I'd rather have a lot of money that's going to change my life rather than let me be content and budget
Yes.
and be happy with what I
Oh my
have
gosh.
now. So then when I have
Yep.
something more, I would be that, because people are unhappy
No,
when they
no.
don't have a lot.
Absolutely. I like that, because I think there's something biblical about that. Actually, I think there might be like
Mhm.
a Bible verse or something about like
Could
I'm
be.
content. I think maybe it was like St. Paul who said something. I'm content to have or to have not. So
Mhm.
and I do think that sometimes you go through challenging times, that it's really to prepare you for and build your character so that you can do the big things in life. But you're right, it happens at a person by person,
Yeah.
small, so that you can accomplish great things.
I used to say that I look at my challenges like, the Super Mario. I've said this before. I feel like it's going to clip it again. But like, how you play like a video
Okay.
game, right?
Yeah.
Because you trigger the memory. You play a video game. If you remember Super Mario, you go to level 1, right? And you do
Yeah.
whatever you
Yeah.
gotta do. You get to level 2, it gets a little bit harder. Right. Then you go to level 3,
Yeah.
it gets a
Yeah.
little bit harder. Then you go to the level 4, and you remember that one where the dragon was like throwing the knives at you with the fireballs and
Yeah,
there's lava
yes.
at the bottom. And it's like you
Yeah,
gotta, it's going to get tougher every level you go up. So, and a lot of times I feel like when things are happening, I'm like, oh, this, I get a step ahead and a step back. It's like, no, these challenges are harder because you're a more powerful person. And so because
yeah,
you're more educated, because you're more experienced, because you have more knowledge, because you're more resilient, your challenges are gonna feel the same, but they're not. They're much bigger because you're much bigger. And
yeah, that's right. Oh, I love that.
it's like, because it's like certain things, like I have friends that are younger than me and they're like going through things. I'm like, girl, please, that ain't nothing. How about this? So it's
So,
like,
yeah,
you,
you want
and then
to
you,
compare?
I look, yeah. And I say sometimes, like, God is not going to allow me to have the things that I want because I have not yet passed the test here on this level. He's not going to put me at
Yeah,
level 5 if I'm still not completing level 4 at the level I should, right? But it's
yeah,
teaching me who I am in level 4 and what I need to do to grow. So stay in your learning, stay in the class, learn a lesson, pass the test so you can move to the next level. And it's difficult to do it. And that's why I always, like, when I talk to my coachees, I said, I can tell you all the tools and things to do, but until you really understand what the process is, what your journey is, where your journey is taking you, you're going to continue to repeat the cycle on it's going to keep looping because you're trying to
yeah,
just get over, you're not learning the lesson.
yeah. Nobody gets a
Mhm.
free pass.
Right.
I think the other thing is that sometimes it's all about timing. So, like before I
Hmm.
joined NIAPers, the Alliance, I was working in a program and I was basically just not, I didn't feel respected. I didn't have like a leadership position. And I went to my boss and I said, I don't want any more money. I don't want, um, I don't even want a title. And I just want to be in the room where decisions
Hmm.
are being made. It was a PROS program, which are like these personalized
Hmm.
recovery oriented services programs. And yeah, she said no. And like, okay, I guess that's what they think about me. And so I, really ticked me off. I was like, damn, I'm not even asking for anything. I mean, I'm not
Right.
asking for money. I'm not asking for a title. And I still got turned down. So
Mhm.
like 2 months after that, the Alliance calls and they say, we'd like to interview you. And I'm at that point, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to be interviewed. And so I got this job at the Alliance. At that time, I was like an employment person. So I was a statewide employment person, just helping to get off a statewide employment initiative. And like 2 years after that, Liam McNabb, who was running the PROS programs for the entire state,
Mhm.
calls me and says, hey, come on by. I want to talk to you. Okay. So I go to his office. Now, keep in mind, he's running all the PROS programs in the state. And he says, I want to talk to you about PROS and I want to ask you how they could be different. And
Mm.
I'm like, so this little tiny PROS that I'm looking, that's my vision. My vision is for just a little influence in that little tiny PROS. But God had something bigger for me. He had something
Mhm.
better for me because I had taken some hard lessons at that place and I'd learned a
Mhm.
lot. And so after that, I was like, you know what? Wherever I wind up, everything that I've done before is just leading me to someplace better.
Absolutely.
And it was all
Absolutely.
about timing.
It's
It
all
was
it's
us all about timing.
it's always about timing. And
Mhm.
we I know for me, it's I stay present. My partner always says that I stay in my head, but I feel like I'm trying to actively participate in understanding. I reflect a lot. I
Okay.
reflect. I think I used to think it was ruminating, but for me, it's reflection. I look at
Let's
this
go.
situation that's happening and I
Hmm.
reflect on how it impacted me, what I could have done differently,
Yeah.
and accept what happened, right? But it takes me time. I got to talk through it. I got to tell somebody else about it. I
Yeah.
got to get their feedback. Like, what you think happened here? And, and people like, oh, that's ruminating. Just let it go. I'm like, no, I need to understand it so that I can accept it. And a
Yeah.
lot of times I stay in the moment until I can say, you know what, I appreciate this moment. Somebody that tell you the same story over and over again. Remember
Oh,
that day when da 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 da?
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so funny. I had that experience yesterday with my sister. I was telling us a story about a family member that happened years ago. And she said, you know what I want for you is to be okay with what happened. And I realized in that moment, even though it was a long time ago and I barely really talk about it, I realized that because the story was so vivid to me, I had not been okay with it. I had not accepted because sometimes when something like when a relationship or a friendship or even a family situation does not work in your favor, you feel like you don't have closure, but you own closure by accepting it. Like this is the outcome.
Yes.
A no is a
Yeah.
no. And
Right.
so I realized that if I call it rumination, then there's no endpoint, there's no resolve. But if I
The
call it
loop.
reflection, I'm looking for acceptance.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
can give it a timeline. Okay, I got 3 days or 3 hours to
Okay.
reflect
Okay.
on
That's
it.
good.
Right.
But I
So,
know you're always looking for the lesson.
yes.
You're always looking for like, what can I get out of this? What
Mhm.
what is the lesson here that
I want to
that I
know,
need to
like,
learn?
I want to know, like, even, with our, um, you know, common experience, even in that
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
it took me a minute to decide to leave because I was like, I know that I didn't do anything wrong, but I said, what could I have
Yeah.
done differently? Because
Yeah.
sometimes you
See,
don't do
that's
anything wrong, but maybe what you did could have been done differently. Because sometimes we're inexperienced and we forget that there's other characters involved that may not have the same perspective as you, right? And so when you're looking at
yeah.
it like, I didn't do anything wrong, but if I have to look at different perspectives, if I can think about this in an empathetic way, how could I have done this differently? Right.
Right. Right.
And so instead of me trying to prove I was right, I stepped back from the situation. You know what? Maybe I could have done it differently. I wasn't wrong, but I did go sure could have done it differently. I
Yeah.
could have, not that I had to change who I was. I had to remind myself that of the environment I was in and, kind of ask more questions, whatever the situation. It wasn't about a right or wrong. It was about the process and, like you said, timing, right? So, but when you reflect, you're able to get to the place where you're not looking for fault or
Yeah.
blame. You
You're past that.
find acceptance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
can't
now,
look at both at the same time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to really start talking because what we're talking about right now really goes into your framework about restory from what I
Yeah.
read,
Yeah.
right? So talk to me a little bit more about restory.
Well, Restory is a web-based wellness platform, and it came as a result of me thinking really seriously about the stories that we carry inside ourselves. We all have stories about what we deserve. We have stories about um, like what our relationships would should look like. We have stories that our family have like we basically inherited from our family. We have
Mhm.
stories of how much we're valued. And I thought, man, there's just so many stories that people carry it in around in themselves. Now, first of all, maybe they're not even theirs. Like I said, maybe they're stories
Mhm.
that their family has placed on them. So they don't own it. You're not even the author of your life if you're living like according to like somebody else's belief about you. And I wanted to like the main thing I wanted to accomplish in Restory is help people become the author of themselves
Mm.
because I truly believe many of us over the course of our lives have picked up stories that might have been true, we might have actually needed them to survive, but they're no longer helping us. So we got to discard them, and we've got to change the narrative. And it's not like I'm encouraging people like to deny reality.
Right.
I'm not doing that at all. I'm just saying we need to look at things a little bit differently. You need to restory whatever story you've been told, because the story you're telling yourself is not working for you.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that live that way, and I got sick of living that way.
Because those stories sometimes they carry, like they're like a so some of the framework I'm working on is called empty your bag. And what
like
empty your
that.
bag means is like, unpacking those stories, right? Unpack again where they came from, right? Why they exist, so that you can live lighter.
Yeah.
And I remember for a long time,
you should come out with a book, because that's a damn good book title.
I'm working on it.
I'm serious.
Yeah, because you carry, I don't know if you remember the Erykah Badu song, Bag Lady. And I remember that song, like listening to the lyrics.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Because, I was a mom at 17. And so there was a story there that was being told for me and about me. Right. And I carried that story even to I started in politics. And so one of the things that helps get funding is a sad story. And so when I started working with these organizations, my sad story was, I'm a teen mom. I grew up in a poor neighborhood, low income neighborhood, and blase. And it sold, right? Organizations wanted to give money to said organization to support the word, to empower parents, to, get education, blah, 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 right? And I remember I was with that organization for about 6 or 7 years. And at this time I was making decent money. My kids, I was paying my own health insurance, and I wasn't that girl anymore. And I hadn't been that girl in so long. So I was I stopped telling the story. Because I was like, I need to tell my resilience story now. I need to tell you that that girl is raising 2 children by herself. She has never had to, at the time I wasn't on public assistance. I was working and taking care of my kids. I had worked for a nonprofit organization, debated NAACP, been in commercials, because, it was a different story. And so now I don't tell that sad story. Most people that meet me post that moment probably won't hear that from me. So that restory, and it helped me puff my chest up a little bit, because I wasn't closing it. Oh, it was this poor little girl from the hood who had, because, the one thing that happened to me during that time was people would say things like, because I did like a bunch of panels and stuff like that. They'd be like, oh my God, you're so articulate. Because I was telling them that I was poor and uneducated and blah, blah, blah. So they looked at that as, how can this girl speak with this diction and come from this horrible background? But it was stuff that got done. I read books like I used to spend hours in the library because I love to read. I wasn't telling that story. So like when you're talking about restory, like when I was reading, I was like, people need to learn how to do it, because stuff happened after that tragic moment that you're not telling. If you're saying, oh, I hear even when I was doing peer work and I was a trainer and we would talk about our narratives, and I hated when people would feel like they had to go to the deepest, darkest part of their recovery journey. Oh, I was on the streets, or I was da-da-da-da-da. And I said, and you would see them shrink. You would see them just turn into that dark place where recovery was embarrassing for them and they were ashamed. And I said, you don't have to bleed to tell your story.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. And I think people get, when they repeat those stories over and over again, and granted, I mean, that story served a purpose at one point for you, but if you keep repeating it, it becomes your identity.
And people feel like it's a pass to get into the peer movement.
Yeah.
If I don't have,
essentially, yes.
Like if I don't have a trauma story, they won't accept me. So let me tell them how bad life was for me so they can see that I belong. And I was just like, no, I like you could have, like, some of us experienced some really hard stuff and some
Yeah.
of us experience some stuff that, according, if we had a measuring stick that wasn't, so tough. I said, when we do that to ourselves, I've seen people bleed over their stories where they couldn't even complete the story. And I was like, we don't have to bleed over our stories. And I was like, your recovery story could be your recovery, whatever that
Yeah.
looks like, right?
Yeah.
But when the light shined on you. But there's also like a training in, I think, in IPS, APS, or in the framework where it tells you like how to talk about it, and it tells you about how to get to the peak and then get to the thing. I said,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
your introduction doesn't have to be, I was
Your
under the
art.
table. It could be, I was going
Yeah.
through a really rough time and blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Right. So yeah, Restory. I think I've experienced it myself, and I really like the
Mhm.
framework you're doing. So in Restory,
It's not about changing the event.
right,
It's not about even like easing your pain because or erasing the pain.
right,
I don't think, I mean, time will heal wounds. It's about changing the meaning of the
right.
event because that's where you have the power.
Oh, I definitely have the power. Right now, all of my friends who didn't have children when they were 17 are
Yeah.
40 with toddlers. My children are 28 and
Yeah.
21. I get to go
Yeah.
to Vegas and have fun. I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about a babysitter. Restory, guys.
Yes. No, my daughter had my grandkids really early. Like she was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And like by the time she's 40, she's gonna have a full life like just to live, you know.
Yeah, they
So
take
there's sometimes it's a blessing to have all the kids out of the
right.
way.
Yeah, and and I get that, it wasn't easy, right?
No,
It wasn't like I was 17
wasn't
and I was
easy
like
for her either.
the best mom in the world. But it
Yeah,
taught me a lot. It taught me about responsibility. It taught me how to take care of business because I had to make doctor's appointments. I had to do all these things. So I was getting a practical life lesson through
yeah,
my parenting that I probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Like I know a lot of adults that don't know how to call and make an appointment or don't know how to problem solve life, events. But as a mom at 17,
yeah.
I had a lot of practice
She had to
um,
learn that.
going through that space. And I experienced like my sister, she's older than me, and her children are behind my children. So the things that she experienced with her children now, I'm like, oh yeah, so this is how that went for me. So I'm teaching my older sister, you know. So what are some of the things that you hope people get out of Restory?
Well, very simple. One of the things I want to, and this is something we actually do with people that come through the program. We
Mm-hmm.
help them to look at things in their lives that they've already kind of settled. Like, okay, this is just the way I am. No, it
Mm,
doesn't have to be the way you are. And I mean, some of the questions are very challenging. Like one of the questions that we ask people is, what is the biggest lie you tell yourself on a regular basis?
oh, that
Not
hit
many
me.
people, yeah, really. Like not many people ask that kind of question.
Yeah.
And you really have to dig deep to look
Mhm.
for the
I
answers
don't
to
even know if
that.
I can answer that question right now that
I
you like
know,
threw
man,
it
you
out
gotta be like,
there. I'm like, I need some
you gotta
time.
you gotta go someplace deep to answer that one.
Right, because
And
we lie to ourselves all the time.
yeah. And
Mhm.
I hope one of the things that I want people to get out of Restory is I want them to get out with a new narrative that they can live by that is going to ease any kind of like where people get stuck. They get stuck in these stories, and the story that I help people to go through and to recreate is a story that is the beginning of something new for them rather than in that loop where they're just constantly cycling in and out, in and
Mhm.
out. And frankly, I mean, a lot of people get stuck in the victim role, and
Yeah.
I'm helping them to like get out of that role and take charge and tell your new story because it's
Mhm.
waiting for you. It's
Yeah.
literally
Wow,
waiting
hit
for
that.
you to take control of the narratives in your life.
Mhm. So you do like a in-person training on the webinar
Yeah,
or
actually, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that question. Give me an opportunity to do some promo here. Yeah, so I was in Vermont about 3 weeks ago, and I did a keynote at a conference but I do workshops for businesses. A lot of people think, well, he's been in nonprofits. This is for everybody. It's not
Mhm.
even for, like, you don't have to be a nonprofit to like get some workshops done. And so there's a bunch of other companies that are for-profit companies that have people that work with them that have,
Mhm.
that are struggling, just because they might maybe earn more money. Maybe they're an architect, or maybe they're, someone that is maybe a stay-at-home mom even, but
Right.
everyone's walking around with stories of some kind. And
Right.
so I'm in with businesses, I'm in with corporations, and I'm helping to, even the story of your business, for example. Sometimes I've sat down with a business owner, and they have this story of their business that's not
Mhm.
taken them anywhere. And so we do
Mhm.
the restory process for their business, and their business begins to thrive when they change the narrative that
Mhm.
they are telling themselves. Because I'm a big believer that the stories we tell ourselves become the lives we lead.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it works for a business, it works for a person, works for a group. So, yeah, I mean, Restory, the site is myrestory.com. Check it out. I think you're going to really like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check it out. I was looking at the framework that you had sent me, and I was like, oh, this is so amazing. And a lot of it I have been doing myself because like I said,
I love that.
I'm always
I'm not
in here.
surprised.
I'm always in here,
Yeah.
moving things around and like looking to be a better person. Right now, my major is in communications, because I feel like one of the things I love about a story, like you said, your story becomes the life you lead, and a lot of people haven't been able to restory because they don't have either the vocabulary or the perspective to do so, right? One of the things I told, when I was in education, I was in education reform,
Yeah.
and I was the president of the community education council in my school district. And
Okay.
one of the things they were talking about, like test scores and how the kids were performing in English and reading and writing and stuff like that. And I said, well, first of all, you're judging children based on a state exam that, one, does not reflect their community.
Yeah.
So the language is far and beyond what they think and feel every day. Yes, they're in school and they're learning it from the teacher. I said, but if you have a child who is in school learning, this stuff, but when they go home, the parents are either speaking another language or broken
Yeah,
English
that's
and stuff like
true.
that, it's really difficult to convert. And so they're having a challenge because it's not an everyday thing for them. And so you have to take that into consideration, right? It's almost
Hmm.
like you have to translate the broken English at home and convert it into just give them a way of understanding. And I think the education system is not ready to include like Ebonics or whatever into the learning experience because they feel like it's like dumbing the education system down. And I'm like, it's not about that. It's about using it in the lessons. Like, okay, use like the most popular Ebonic language and show the kids like this is the translation, right? Like
Yeah.
mom is
Actually, that could
saying
be very
this,
useful.
this is the translation, so they can
Yeah.
connect it together. They do it with Spanish, they do it anything else.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
so why not? Because that I feel that is where some of the gap is. But I personally, in my household, spoke a certain way and used a certain language. So my children, they scored high in English and and
Surprised.
writing. So, but that was the household language, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I cursed. I ain't gonna lie on here and tell you I didn't cuss. I did, I did cuss,
Well,
but
we've
for the
all
most
done
part, I
that.
used a lot of vocabulary with them. I use,
Yeah.
my daughter tells me once she's better than me now. She be hitting me with some words. I'm like, what that mean? So, but I learned words from my job because I worked in corporate and I went to my colleagues were Brown University, they were Harvard and all that. And I used to
Very
tease them
well
about that. I'm like,
educated.
I went to Harvard, I got a GED, and we
Yeah.
sitting at the same table. What's up?
awesome though.
But I learned words like
Yeah,
caveat and minutia and,
yeah, yeah.
all that. And I would bring that language home, not probably not minutia, but, and caveat, but I would speak the way the office spoke in my home. So my kids
Okay.
picked up on it and they speak like that. So now people
Wow.
are like, what are you talking about? But a lot of times that's what people say it starts at home. But I would say it's reinforced at home, not so much it
Yeah,
starts at home.
yeah. But
And
the
then,
translation thing is a great
yeah,
idea though,
yeah, and offer
because
parents,
you're literally translating how people speak at home versus how people are taught to speak at school.
right. It's like you have to involve the home because we have the reality we have to understand is a lot of the children were being raised by people who were undereducated. So you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
look at it from a wholeness perspective. And so like that's what I was saying about story. A lot of people want to share their story, right? And I got pushback from the peer community, like, oh, you shouldn't, da 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 da. But when I don't have the words to explain how I feel, I'm gonna either cuss or yell or shut
yeah,
down or whatever have you.
yeah.
So I was like, it's not about minimizing people's education. It's about inserting new ways of communicating so that they can communicate on a way, like how we use the emotion wheel and stuff like that. How people like expand
Yeah,
out. I'm mad could mean anything. I'm sad or depressed could mean anything, right? And so giving people
right.
more vocabulary to like get to the bottom of how they feel so you can address the issue accordingly.
Yeah.
And what we were doing
You
was
know what?
react.
You're really making me think on this podcast here, because now I'm thinking, you know, helping people just with the language to tell a story.
Mhm. That's
So
that's
wow,
just
okay.
yeah, that's why I was so excited about the emotion wheel because to help people expand, I'm not just upset. I'm not just mad.
Yeah,
I feel
right.
one of the things I learned about myself was when I would be upset, I would say, "Oh, I'm mad." But then I realized that I felt inadequate. I felt disrespected. I felt
Hmm.
jealous. Or, if you expand it, then someone can address you based on that, not just mad,
Yeah, right,
right?
right, right.
So, or, I tried to, because one of the things I say in my emotional intelligence class is like one of the most, um, one of the words that's mostly criticized is anger. And I said we need to look at anger as a not as a positive, but as an emotion that can be expressed, right? And so, it's just so many things that restory and like being able to tell your story. There's so much work that can be done around helping people understand themselves because emotional intelligence also helps you with restory because now you know when, where, and how because you have the empathy to understand maybe this is not the time to say this part because there's a lot of
Yeah.
people who maybe let's say you have a story about sexual assault. You can use your empathy and emotional intelligence to say, okay, this part of my story, I won't use certain details. They tell you that in peer support, but they don't tell you the why too much.
Hmm.
Like, I guess, to me, it's just there was so much to expand on when it came to doing that work.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, you can hire me as a consultant and I can
I
come
would
and
love that. You're already giving me a lot of things to think about here.
to do it, or you can invite me to speak
Or be
at your
one of our
events.
storytellers. That's what we
Well,
call
I love
people.
storytelling. That's why I
When
put
you work with
communication.
somebody, we call them storytellers, and people work with individual
Yeah.
storytellers
I
to
mean,
help them change the narratives.
it's such an amazing thing to be like I'm very talkative and I love to tell a story. I think that might be one of the things I do later in life. I don't know.
Okay.
But I do have a couple of books that I'm working on.
Right. I hope the bag one comes out because that's a damn good title. If you don't watch out, I'm gonna steal it and I'm gonna have my own book.
No, I,
Love it.
I have a couple of things that I'm working on. Actually working on a romantic comedy.
Oh,
Uh
really?
yeah, I have like 19 pages already that
I
of
got to
this.
tell you though, I've been sitting on a romantic comedy for like 20 years. And
Really?
I haven't, I've got like the scenes, like just the basics. I haven't written anything, but just like what its scene's going to be. So
Yeah.
I got that in me too.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it helps me to tell my story through my characters.
Okay.
So, I have like some of like the traumas and experiences I have, and I've
Yeah.
kind of like switched them around. And the love story is more about a relationship that I actually aspire to have.
Okay.
This guy is treating her like it's just a beautiful relationship.
Oh,
I hope people
what's that
see.
one going to be called?
I don't know. Right now, it's called Complicated. But I don't
Okay.
feel good about that because I think when I first started it, I had a heartbreak. When I first started
Okay.
writing, I was, heartbroken. And so it was called Complicated. But I think it's forming a new through like the different scenes because I'm actually writing it as a screenplay and I'm hoping to
Okay.
convert it, but it has a lot of different things. There's the romantic comedy part, like you have that, but then there's a lot of stories in it. Like my main character, his mom went to jail for him because he had killed someone in a vehicle, but he was a minor.
Oh,
And when the police showed up, she told him it was her driving. And so she
oh
did
my
15
God.
years in jail. And then
Wow.
when the book starts, she's coming out for the first time. But it gives like, it goes
Wow.
to it. But the son doesn't know because he was unconscious when,
That's crazy. Oh,
yeah. So,
that's it's
and all
wow.
of this
Okay.
came from here. It was like on the noggin.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited
Wow.
about this. And there's a lot of twists and turns. There's stories about recovery in there. The main female character, her sister, is addicted to alcohol and pills,
Hmm.
and so the family is like going through the process of trying to convince her to go into recovery, and so it's a lot of different stories weaved in to the plot. But someone told me to do it as a mini series,
Okay.
or it's like a show, but we'll see.
Oh, a
But yeah.
show instead of like a movie?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
instead of a
Okay.
movie to do it like a mini series, so it'll be like episodes because it's like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many
Like eight
different
episodes or
moving.
something like that.
Yeah, because it'll give it more
Yeah.
depth than trying to squeeze everything into the
Okay.
one movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
It's a
but
lot more work though.
yeah, it's a lot more work. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
I could be like, what's her name? What's the one that did Scandal
I
and
know.
all that?
Yeah. Yeah. Rhonda.
Yeah, maybe I
Uh,
could be the new age Rhonda Rhimes, I
yeah.
think her
Yeah.
name
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Or,
Well,
I
that's
really
you're
want to
starting off with
mentor
a
her.
pretty good one.
Yeah, she's amazing. But I just want to say, before we wrap, I want to say, Lynn, this was an amazing conversation. I love
This was
having
a lot of
conversation with
fun.
you. And I'm really excited for your work. If you
Yeah.
haven't already, send me the link to the web-based
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And I would love for us to like maybe have a follow-up or do something in
Yeah.
person. Because I really this is the work I think is going to um really help heal our society. Like
Yeah.
people like retelling your story, like letting go of the story your family or your community or society told you are. Because when you start, you know, doing that, you come to a space where you can't believe in yourself. Your confidence is reliant on outside gratification and
Yeah.
approval from others. And taking hold of that story, you can reinvent it. You don't got to tell all the gunk that you did in the past. You can say, you know what? I had a rough start, but here I
Yeah.
am now. Right. So I love the idea of people
Sure.
owning it and, not so much as reinventing, like you said, but deciding where it goes from here.
That's
Um,
right. That's exactly it. You're
mhm.
the author now.
Yeah.
You're gonna write the story.
People will
We're
hold you
we
down to
gonna
what you did. Yeah, people will hold you down to what you did in 1977 forever. Like it's
right,
2026.
right, right. And sometimes it's we're holding ourselves down by
Yeah.
staying with that story for
Because people
so
won't let it,
long.
you won't let it go. And those people that keep, well, my mom said, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
mom said it. Now what?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So I
honestly, it's
love it.
kind of as simple as that.
Yep. Yep. Mom said
Yeah.
it. Now what?
But
So
it
Lynn,
starts with noticing the moments in your day.
right. So,
Starts with
so we have two
so you
things
can
for you
tell that
guys.
story.
Right. We have two things. Tell them what they got. The two things they got to do.
Oh, so number one, you got to pick up this book. It's a great book. I don't mind saying so. I've had a lot of people give me great feedback on it. It's called Five Greatest Moments. You can pick it up at barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com, walmart.com. I mean, it's all over, target.com. That's you got to go online to get it. Some stores are carrying it, but I haven't sold enough yet. So hopefully that'll change. And then, visit my website at myrestory.com. I think you'll get a lot out of it. So I am hoping to hear from people because I think it's something that will really help a lot of people.
Let's build a restory movement. Let's start, let's make, things like this go viral, like we let everything else go viral. Healing is in the eye of the beholder. We're changing the quote.
That's right. There you go.
We're changing the quote. Again, thank you so much for joining. And
you got it. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This is the first podcast.
Okay, we got an exclusive Monday Night Chat.
Yeah, absolutely. First one.
We got the exclusive. But I really appreciate you. I just want to let the audience know, Len is an amazing person. Please check out his book and his website. And we want to thank you for tuning in and watching this. If you didn't get a chance to watch the podcast, it will be available for your consumption on YouTube. You could just look up Monday Night Chat with SK and you'll be able to find the replay of this episode. You can also find it on my Facebook page, which is the same, Monday Night Chat with SK Facebook page. And you can find it on Spotify if you just want to listen to it while you're driving into town. It will be on Spotify for your audio consumption. But I really want to thank you for being a supporter. And I want to thank Len again for joining us. Everybody have a wonderful night, and we'll see you all soon.